We are live. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Boxing Fanatico Show, episode 85, as we continue and push to episode 100. Let me go ahead and switch over right quick. What is going on, everybody? Thank you for showing up. Of course, we got to start off with the man, the myth, the legend himself, Hashim47. With the Let's Go champ, what's going on, brother? Thank you for showing up in each and every stream. You never fail to amaze me. Thank you so much. It's very much appreciated, brother. All right. And of course, after Let's Go champ, we have to start off with Michael Buffer so that we can christen the show as we always do and start it off. Michael Buffer, hit us with the Let's Get Ready to Rumble.
Ladies and gentlemen,
let's get ready to rumble. And let me take a look at everybody here. Hold on. Fighter of the Year, Crawford just had a legacy-defining performance that will be talked about for eons. Eons. Crawford is the Fighter of the Year. Ooh, that's a pretty good take there. Anthony Murchison, what's going on, brother? How are you doing? King Juice at Hashipo say, aha, look at you. But talk about the fight on Saturday may be different, Fanatico. Wait, huh? Okay, hold on. Are you telling Hashim47? Wait, look at you. I'm so confused. So you're asking me to talk about something different? Well, we're going to talk about the fight, Sonny Edwards versus Bam Bam Rodriguez on Friday when I do my official prediction. The prediction that you could take to the bank. But today, we got to talk about this topic because this is a little hot. This is a little red button topic right now. Listen, YouTube is also about what people want to talk about. I can't just talk about what I want to talk about. I got to create a platform for there's a bunch of things I want to talk about. This is one of them. And if I'm looking at all the stuff that people want to talk about, we got to talk about that. We got to talk about that. Wait, what? I said cheers to Hasim for getting here early. Oh, okay. And then you're telling me to talk about something else. All right, so it's two different conversations, two different things you're saying in the same line. Got it. But yes, we're gonna talk about the fight. We're definitely gonna talk about the fight. I'm not gonna not talk about the fight, but we're going to talk about. Let me actually drop this here because it's not pulling up. I hate when this happens. We're not going to talk about it today because this is a topic that people are interested in, King Juice. So we gotta talk about the things that people are interested in, man. That's how it works. David Morales, what's going on? Nah, Inoue got it, bro. Okay, my man said Inoue got it. All right. Okay, let's see what happens. But easy, and he only fought once. Ooh, okay. All right. Let's see. What's up? Not your average 10K. What's going on, brother? I'm good. About to work out and listen to it. Oh, cool. Love it. Okay. Bud or Inoue both deserve Fighter of the Year. All right. I truly wanted to have this conversation because it's hard, right? It's a hard conversation to have. It's not simple. It's not easy, right? No one really knows for sure, right? Like, it's not going to be a consensus. There's so many years, it's very easy to point out the Fighter of the Year. It's very, very easy. You could say Crawford because he became two-time undisputed, but then Inoue is about to become two-time undisputed before the year ends, right? This is also kind of an ongoing conversation because we got to see what Inoue does, but I suspect that he would win against Topolis. But we got to see his fight. And if he wins, then he's also a two-time undisputed. And then he did it faster than Terrence Crawford. But Terrence Crawford is the only male two-time undisputed champion. So that's a feather in his cap. He also beat an undefeated, three world title holder in Errol Spence Jr. Errol Spence will be in, the Sean Porters, the Danny Garcias, and all these guys. So that's a big deal. Plus, that was the super fight of the year. That was the super fight of the last 5 years. And not only did he win, he performed incredibly well. But then you could say that is the only fight that he had this year. So if that's the only fight that he had this year, then what are like maybe somebody else who was more active could probably get the nod. Had Terrence Crawford fought Errol Spence and fought somebody else, right? Like if he had the Sean Porter then the Errol Spence performance all in 1 year, maybe you could give him fighter of the year. But maybe because it was only Errol Spence, other fighters who've had 2 fights might have a better chance of getting the nod. David Benavidez fought a Caleb Plant, and he fought pretty much a fight that people have been looking for a long time in the fight with Boo Boo Andre. People were looking for him to fight Caleb Plant for a long time, and he had those 2 fights. Devin Haney fought Lomachenko. That is the best resume of someone who has fought 2 people in this year in terms of one of those people being the highest level. Lomachenko is that guy, right? You could put Errol Spence in there, but he fought Lomachenko and he fought Regis Prograis. So maybe you kind of even out Lomachenko and Errol Spence, but then the dude fought Regis Prograis. And it was for undisputed, but he was already undisputed. So we have Devin Haney who was undisputed. We have Terrence Crawford who became undisputed. And then we have Inoue who beat Stephen Fulton when no one expected him to, beat him in the way that he did, or 50% of people didn't expect him to do that. So this is a pretty difficult year in my opinion, because you could find things to lean towards one way or the other. Let me see what you guys are saying right here. Hold on. Crawford should be fighter of the year. He beat another pound for pound fighter to a pulp, and he is 2-time undisputed, 3 times lineal. Yes, but 2-time undisputed is just that you're connecting what he did in the past to what he did this year. Fighter of the year doesn't mean who's the best fighter in boxing. In my opinion, the best fighter in boxing is Terrence Crawford, bar none. Maybe Inoue and Terrence Crawford is almost like 1A and 1B. But other than that, like what this year, like their accolades just this year is all that we're looking at to make the determination for fighter of the year. Not the best fighter in the sport, not the person who rose up to become the best based on their accolades. That's Terrence Crawford. But is he the fighter of the year? See, that's where it becomes a little bit difficult to put, because you're looking at this year to give them that accolade, not looking at what they've done in the past. Watching this while at Texas Roadhouse. Hey, man, love it. Thank you for being here while you at Texas Roadhouse. Hey, man, it's fun for me, man. I love having the more the merrier. Besides Fulton, who's Inoue fought? Well, Inoue's about to fight Tapolis, so he's actually going to end the year with 2 fights. And you can say this video or live stream is a little premature because he hasn't fought yet, but come on. You saw what he did to Stephen Fulton and everybody else he ever fought. You think he's not going to beat Tapolis and become a 2-time undisputed champion? I think it's a safe bet that he will win that fight. I think it's a safe bet. Damn, this year feels like it flew by, but it's crazy to think that Plant DB fight was this year. Feels so long ago. Yes, it did. And I see that my man put up, you see, this is what I hate about this thing here. It doesn't load up. All right, let's kill this real quick. Let's restore chat. Let's pop out the chat. And my man's here. Here we go. Boom. Thank you, Love C Shorty, for the $2 super chat. And let me go ahead and hit you with that super chat video. Salute to you too, brother. Salute to you too. All right. I think Bud beating Spence, one man who had all the belts, should make him fighter of the year. That's just my opinion. One fight this year. We got Love C right here. One fight this year. It was big. Other fighters doing the same this year in multiple fights. Okay. Let me see. Crawford doesn't deserve it in my opinion because he only fought one notable fighter. Yes, he did it amazingly. Same with Inoue, but I see why people are considering them as candidates. See, but Inoue is about to fight again. And when Inoue fights, he will become 2-time undisputed as well. So he will also have that feather in his cap. Terrence Crawford became the first male two-time undisputed by beating Errol Spence, but Inoue will follow suit and do that if he beats Topulis, because Topulis has the other 2 world titles, right? He took the 2 world titles from Stephen Fulton. He just needs 2 more, and it's just in 2 fights, the man will become undisputed. So in a very short time. So basically, he started his undisputed journey this year to be a 2-time undisputed after being 1-time undisputed. And he will end his journey this year being 2-time undisputed. So that's actually crazy to think. He literally started collecting the belts this year. He beat Stephen Fulton, got 2 belts. He beats Topulis, he will get 2 belts. Now, of course, there's a caveat. If he somehow loses to Topulis, then, he won't be fighter of the year, obviously. There's no conversation to be had. But I think one thing that we definitely need to be mindful of that happens a lot is recency bias. I think a lot of people harp on recency bias. There's so many people that's jumping on the bandwagon of Devin Haney this, Devin Haney that. Although what he did was amazing and one of the best performances I've seen, from definitely the best performance from that I've seen from Devin Haney, and one of the best performances that I've seen in terms of the defense. But is he fighter of the year over Benavidez? Over Inoue? He's a 1-time undisputed champion. He fought a Regis. Is Regis at the level of a Stephen Fulton? Maybe Inoue, maybe Loma is at the level of a Stephen Fulton. But Inoue will become 2-time undisputed this year. That's a big, you know what I'm saying? That's a big deal. So we got to look at a lot of different things. And then look at Benavidez. He fought 2 bangers, right? While Loma's a banger, Regis is kind of, he's good, but he's not a banger fight, right? Stephen Fulton is a banger. Topulis is, he's all right, but he's not a banger fight, right? He's not like them top tier type fighters. Benavidez took on 2 top tiers in the same time. They could be good fighters, but they're not like Boo Boo Andre was undefeated. Caleb Plant was at the top of that division, losing only to Canelo Alvarez. So it's a difficult choice. And then Terrence Crawford beat Errol Spence. Does the one Terrence Crawford win, is that enough for Terrence Crawford to be like, listen, this was a 5-year in the making. This was the biggest fight in boxing. This is the fight that everybody wanted to see, and I did it. I'm fighter of the year, even though that's the only fight I had. I'm telling you, if he would have fought Sean Porter and then, did the same thing he did to Sean Porter like earlier in the year and then fought Errol Spence later in the year, this wouldn't even be a debate. Because he would have his Loma and his Stephen Fulton by beating Errol Spence. And you could argue maybe even a little bit higher than those guys. And then he would have his whatever secondary fight that's better than beating a Regis and better than beating a Topulis. And maybe even better than beating a Caleb Plant, right? Let's see what you guys are saying. Hold on. I'm gonna give y'all my opinion, but I kind of want to see this brew with what you guys are thinking. In a way, beating Narvaez and Emmanuel Rodriguez goes way too under the radar. The Rodriguez win has aged like fine wine. Yes, of course, 100%. Is the Marlon Topulis any good? He's all right. I mean, he got 2 world titles in the division. He's okay. But he's no Stephen Fulton, right? Stephen Fulton was a high tier fighter. So, yeah, he's all right, but he's not, anything crazy. There you go. Not elite like Stephen Fulton. Exactly. The fact that Terrence beat another top pound-for-pound fighter the way he beat Spence is enough for me to believe he should be fighter of the year. No other fighter this year has done that, not even Inoue. Well, Stephen Fulton was in the pound-for-pound list. And so was Inoue. And Inoue kind of beat up Stephen Fulton kind of in the same kind of way almost. Like, he beat him up. I don't know. Obviously, the way Crawford did was like a beat down, but Inoue kind of like completely mastered him and everything and just beat him up and knocked him out and everything. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. If Haney would have schooled Loma, then might have a case for Fighter of the Year. Atopoulos is on a 4-fight win streak, 3 KOs. All right, let's see. But Bud destroyed the guy people said would beat him. We knew Haney would outclass Regis Prograis. Exactly. Crawford did have his 50-50 fight. But if we being honest, Benavidez fighting Caleb Plant, that was iffy. Nobody really knew for sure. Benavidez fighting Boo Boo Andre, it was leaning towards Benavidez. And the same thing with Caleb Plant. It was leaning towards Benavidez, but the Crawford fight was leaning towards Crawford. Because really, the people can say whatever they want, but we looking at the betting odds. The betting odds is what tells us for real what people are doing with their money, what they actually feel. And there was a lean towards Crawford. But Benavidez fought 2 fights where it was leaning towards him. Not completely, he's automatically going to win. Where it was almost arguably 50-50. And that's interesting. That's interesting. We give me your second favorite fighter his props. Just be biased. Who's my second? You think Terrence Crawford? I said, well, actually, he probably is my second favorite fighter. But I don't actually technically have a second favorite fighter. But if you put a gun to my head, he was like, who's your second favorite fighter? I'll probably say Terrence Crawford. If I was being honest, I'll probably say Terrence Crawford. Carmel Moulton Fighter of the Year. I don't want to hear it. Okay, no. Maybe prospect. Not even that. He needs more fights than the one he's had. So glad we get to see Inoue fight again before the year's end. I know it's a little Christmas present. Okay. All right. Stephen Fulton was not pound for pound. Stop it. Perhaps on your list. No, not. He wasn't pound for pound on my list, actually. He was just pound for pound on some lists. So in my list, I have my list. I have my video up. I don't think I have had him. I had him pound for pound. But other people did have him pound for pound on their list. All right. So here's my take on it. Performance matters as well. The way you win matters. So if Terrence Crawford, the way Terrence Crawford beat Errol Spence is Fight of the Year worthy. Does that make him Fighter of the Year when other fighters did that in a way, but also have a second fight, which they're probably going to win, like Inoue? Or does 2 big fights where it's close, where it's a 50-50, is that powerful? Or is beating somebody that's at the level of a Lomachenko and then beating a Regis Prograis when you go to that division for the first time at 140, you've never stepped foot in there, beating him the way you did, making it your best performance ever, is that indicative? Or the fact that he kind of struggled with Lomachenko, does that take points off? This is what I think. Let's talk about Crawford first. I think he did amazing by beating Errol Spence Jr. the way he beat him. Not just beating him, the way he beat him. That fight was the Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather of our era, of this current era, because we've been waiting for that fight for a long time. Those were the 2 guys we wanted to see, and that allowed him to become undisputed. But I think that it falls short on making him Fighter of the Year because he didn't fight another fight. I think activity is also important for Fighter of the Year. I don't know if it's fair to give somebody Fighter of the Year if they've only fought 1 time, while other people are out there, just consistently fighting. If somebody fought 4 killers and one person fought 1 great in 1 year, would I consider that person the Fighter of the Year, representative of the year? It would be very difficult for me. I would say beating the 4 killers, although all 4 killers don't amount to the 1 great fight that they had, it's still the activity. So you're more representative of what the year was when it's all said and done, if that makes sense. So, and with that, I'm going to eliminate Terrence Crawford. For me. Now, again, this is boxing. And this is opinion based. Almost all talking points about boxing is opinion based. Almost all of it. So that is just my opinion. Let's go ahead and eliminate Terence Crawford. For me, maybe not for you. I respect everyone's decision, but for me, I'm gonna move Terence Crawford out of the way because one fight to me is not representative. Again, if he would have fought Sean Porter and Errol Spence, let's say he fought Sean Porter earlier in the year and then Errol Spence at the end of the year, man, it would have been lights out for anybody. Now let's go ahead and talk about Inoue. Inoue beat Stephen Fulton in a 50-50 fight. Badly. It's akin to what Terence Crawford did. Right? He outsmarted him, he knocked him out, and he played with his food, basically. And he outboxed the guy that was supposed to outbox him, or the guy that was supposed to be doing the outside boxing. He outsmarted him, right? He showed his IQ was higher than a person who's known for their IQ. So he's not just that guy that's going to knock you out. He's the guy that's going to knock you out and outsmart you. And the rules of Japan allows him to put tape on the bottom of his hand, on his bare hands, and then gauze and then tape. But Fulton said, we don't do that in the States. That's cheating. Even though it wasn't, Inoue said, yo, don't put the tape on my hand, bro. How y'all want me to do it? Show me. Gauze, put the gauze. Tape up, put the tape. Wrap it around. Exactly what he wants. Let's do exactly what he wants. And still got the knockout. And thank goodness he did that, because the way the boxing fandom works, we would never hear the end of it. That would have been the only reason he won. But he took him off. He didn't do it that way. So, that's not the reason he won. He won because he won, right? That gives him, and then he's going to fight again. And when he fights again, it will make him a 2-time undisputed. That gives me a lot more, it makes me feel better to give it to him. So he's not eliminated. Let's put him to the side, right? 2-time undisputed coming up. And he destroyed Stephen Fulton in a 50-50 fight. Whenever you destroy somebody in a 50-50 fight, that's crazy. That's crazy. Now let's look at Devin Haney. Devin Haney just came back. Just won in a crazy way. Outboxing, outsmarting, movement, smart, intelligent. Kept the distance intelligently. Never let Regis Prograis get comfortable, get set so he could throw his power shots. Kept Regis Prograis to the CompuBox limit of the lowest punches ever landed in CompuBox history, which is also akin to the fact that he just likes to throw those one-punch bombs. If he threw combinations, Regis Prograis would have a better chance of upping his CompuBox numbers, but he just likes throwing those one-punch bombs, which that's kind of one of the reasons why he had a really low number, even in his previous fight before this fight. But whatever he did throw, it didn't land. It didn't land. So it was the lowest amount of punches ever landed on a fighter, period. Great performance. And he fought Lomachenko and beat Lomachenko when he didn't have to fight Lomachenko, because he already fought. And defended his title against Kambosos. He beat Kambosos, took his title, went back to Australia, beat Kambosos, kept his title, and then fought Lomachenko. Technically, he did have to fight him because he was on a 3-fight contract. But yeah, whatever. Sure, he had to fight him, but he fought him. And he won. Although it was a tough fight. Inoue didn't have a tough fight with Stephen Fulton. Terence Crawford didn't have a tough fight with Errol Spence. So is beating Regis Prograis the way he did enough for me to put him on top and make him fighter of the year? That's tough, because his performance with Loma, takes a lot of points off for me. Sure, he won, and you could have scored it for him, and it wasn't a robbery by any stretch of the imagination because it was a close fight, but it was still a struggle. Everyone was still waiting. I don't care who you are, and trust me, I had a Devin Haney fan sitting right next to me that after the scores were read, he was like, oh, of course, I knew it because this, and that. But before the scores was read, he was on pins and needles. If you knew the dude did his thing, you wouldn't be on pins and needles, nervous, waiting for the scorecards to come out. So it was a close fight. I would have to say that beating Regis Prograis that way, although exceptional, because he had a close fight with his super fight, because Regis Prograis wasn't really a super fight. Loma, that was a super fight. Because he had a close fight with his super fight, and we have a guy like Crawford and Inoue that didn't have a close fight with their super fights, they demolished. I'm going to have to reluctantly, because I know people are hyped, he just did this, and it's harder to do it when somebody just did this, but I'm going to have to eliminate Devin Haney in the Fighter of the Year. For me, once again, we got to remind everybody, boxing, when it comes to these lists, when it comes to pound for pound, I think I'm going to set up a pound for pound list, a new one. It's all opinionated, guys. It's all opinions. You don't have to agree with me. But I'm respecting your opinion. Hopefully you respect my opinion. All right. So, Inoue's still in the running. Devin Haney, Crawford eliminated. I explained why I eliminated both of those guys. Now, David Benavidez. You could say that both of his fights were somewhat super fights. Not in the sense where it's going to sell a lot of like pay-per-views like crazy. It's not going to do that. But those were the head honcho guys, right? In the talks of Canelo's career, the people he was always scared to fight was Benavidez, in the current modern time, was Benavidez, Boo Boo Andrade, and Caleb Plant. I'm not lying. We know this. This was the narrative. That is the reason why Canelo versus Caleb Plant did 800-something thousand pay-per-view buys. Because that's the reason why Canelo versus Plant, the UFC was watching Canelo versus Plant. Dana White was watching Canelo versus Plant while he was at his own UFC event. So we know that Caleb Plant was a big deal. Or is a big deal. We also know that Boo Boo Andrade was also a narrative that Canelo had, you a horrible fighter, you want payday. Remember that? It's all this narrative has been building for a while. Boo Boo Andrade has wanted Canelo and has moved in divisions, basically chasing Canelo's divisions. He's been wanting that Canelo fight. And he's a really slick boxer that outboxes people. And in both of those fights, you could argue that David Benavidez was in a essentially 50-50 fight where they leaned towards him, but anything could happen. The same way they were leaning towards Terrence Crawford. And he did 2 of those fights in this year. And he performed well in both of those fights. That puts him, to me, in the running. So now we have Inoue and we have Benavidez. If Inoue wins against Topulis, then Inoue will become 2-time undisputed. However, Topulis would not be better than a Boo Boo Andrade or a Caleb Plant. Stephen Fulton is better than the Caleb Plant, but not probably even with a Boo Boo Andrade. Probably, not maybe, maybe higher than Boo Boo Andrade. But Topulis is much lower than both of them, in my opinion. in terms of difficulty. So, yes, it will give him an accolade, a really major one. But the person he will be fighting, although this has not happened yet, he could lose, and then this won't even be a debate. But I doubt it. The person he will be fighting for these belts is just, unfortunately, not a person that is of a crazy high caliber. So when it's all said and done, based off of all of this that I've put together, and trust me, I love me some Inoue and Terrence Crawford and Devin Haney, but I think that if we were looking at it in a fair way, looking at the entire body of the year, entire body of work of the year, which means activity level, how active were you? If you only fought one fight, and that ain't, you're not representative of the year. If you've had multiple fights, you are representative, or you're more representative of the year. And how difficult were those fights that they had? I think David Benavidez had 2 difficult fights on paper, and he had an amazing performance with Caleb Plant and an even better performance with Boo Boo Andre. So to me, David Benavidez is the fighter of the year. Even if Inoue wins against Topulis. I would have to say that David Benavidez will be the fighter of the year. What do you guys think about that breakdown? Do you guys agree? Do you guys see my point of view? Or do you guys think that I'm just crazy for even thinking that David Benavidez would be fighter of the year over Devin Haney or Inoue or Crawford? But I never want to come from, I like the way he fought. I'm not coming from that. I broke down the competition and everything right now, just now, to let y'all know why I came to that decision. Why I decided to say Benavidez. There's good things on all sides. This one is a hard one this year. There's going to be a lot of fighter of the years that aren't going to match, right? We're going to see an ESPN fighter of the year that might not match with a Ring magazine fighter of the year. We're going to see those guys that might not match with some other company, whatever, fighter of the year, some reporting company on Twitter. We're going to have stuff not matching because it's just going to be a tough year to do that. But in my opinion, when I look at it and as fair as possible, to me, fighter of the year needs to be representative of the year, so it means more activity. It also has to look at the way they perform. To me, Devin Haney performed poorly against Lomachenko, performed very well against Regis Prograis, but is Regis Prograis at the level of a Caleb Plant and a Boo Boo Andre? I don't believe so. Inoue performed very well against Stephen Fulton, but he's about to fight Topulis. Even if he performs well against Topulis, is Topulis at the level of one of those 2 guys, of a Boo Boo Andre and a Caleb Plant? I don't think so. So I think that Benavidez just had the 2 biggest obstacles, and he passed with flying colors because of his performance. On top of all of that, on top of them being difficult fights, he had an amazing performance. I think that adds another layer to it. So he has basically everything you need. He's checking all the boxes in the check for the check marks or whatever. He's checking all the boxes. Activity, check. Difficulty in opponent 1, check. Difficulty in opponent 2, check. Performance against opponent 1, check. Performance against opponent 2, check. Terrence Crawford, difficult activity, no. Okay, just 1 fight. All right. Devin Haney, activity, yes, check. Difficulty in performance 1, check. Difficulty in performance 2, check. Difficulty performance. The way he performed with opponent 1, not that's an X. That's not a check. It was a difficult fight. The way he performed with opponent 2, that's a check. Inoue, difficulty, with opponent 1, check. Difficulty with opponent 2, not so much. Performance for opponent 1, check. He hasn't fought opponent 2, but activity, check. But he already doesn't have that check for difficulty in opponent for opponent 2. So with all that put together, I think that the fairest way or the fairest thing to say, if I'm being honest, because listen, you guys know Terrence Crawford, one of the dudes that I like in boxing. I really like Terrence Crawford. I really like his style, the way he fights, everything. If it was based off of who I liked, I'd just be like, oh, it's Terrence Crawford. But I always tell you here on Boxing Fanatico, we put biases aside and we look at stuff in fairness. And I think that Benavidez checked all the boxes while all the other people, they didn't check all of the boxes the way Benavidez did. Remember, Bubu Andre was undefeated. Caleb Plant had lost to Canelo. That's it. I think Benavidez got it. All right, let's see what you guys have to say, man. Y'all was talking like crazy while I was doing this breakdown. Per BetMGM, Benavidez is a 350 favorite, while Andre was a 275 underdog. This ain't 50-50 either. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But that's closer than the other fighters. That's closer than the other fighters. If you check BetMGM, let me see what the numbers are for like a Devin Haney Regis Prograis. And on top of this, but you still got to take it into account. Let's say it's not the quintessential 50-50 or the example 50-50. Andre was still a big name. He was still a big name. He was still a dangerous fighter. A much more dangerous fighter, in my opinion, that could win versus somebody like a Regis Prograis. Benavidez even should get himself Fighter of the Year, too. He's been hunting all year. Of course. And it's not just the way he's been hunting. It's the two people that he fought. It's the two people that he fought. Caleb Plant best who and who did Andre fought? Haney beat Cambosis, who best Tio. Lomachenko. Yeah, but Cambosis, that was not this year. Was Cambosis this year? No, that was not this year. We're talking about this year. We're talking about this year. Lomachenko, the overrated golden son of boxing, and Regis, who was at the top of many hardcore lists. Yeah, but then I could easily say who did Regis beat, because Regis fought Josh Taylor, but he ain't beat him. I could use the same argument right back at you, Casanova Pugilist. I could use it right back at you. He beat Cambosis, but he didn't beat Cambosis this year. That wasn't this year. Unless I'm wrong. I know for a fact that wasn't this year. I could be bugging, but I don't think it was this year. No, it was October 2022. So that wasn't even this year. So we're talking about Fighter of the Year this year, Casanova. This year. Once again, if it was just overall fighter, it'll go to Terrence Crawford. Because Terrence fought Sean Porter last year and then became two-time undisputed this year. So it was just about who you fighting and who you fought. It'll go to Terrence Crawford. But I'm talking about we have to encapsulate just this year. This is what makes it a little bit difficult, because not only are you just looking at this year, you have to detach yourself from everything else that they've done and just focus on what they accomplished this year to determine if they were fighter of this year. And even with that being said, the same way you're saying who did Andre fight, we could say the same thing about Regis Prograis. We could say the same thing about Regis Prograis. Regis Prograis lost. He lost to Josh Taylor. So he even had a loss on his record going into the fight with Devin Haney. Boo Boo Andre was undefeated. And you could argue that both of them ain't really fought nobody to the degree of what you're looking for. Like how Kambosos beat Tio. But unfortunately, we're not talking about last year combined with this year. We're not. Because if we were, it still wouldn't be Haney. It'll be Terrence Crawford. Would it be a bad take if I think David would beat Canelo? Nah, of course not. I'm leaning towards David Benavidez beating Canelo Alvarez. I'm leaning towards David Benavidez beating Canelo Alvarez. Of course, it's not the official prediction. We're going to do the official prediction the Friday before the fight. If it ever gets made, hopefully it gets made. But, it's the tentatively waiting on the fight being made prediction. All right, let's see what you guys are saying. And didn't Caleb Plant knock out Darrell this year, or was that last year? Because, man, if it was this year, what a year. I think that was this year. Let me double check. That was this year. That was in January of this year. Unless I'm bugging. Oh, no. I'm bugging. That was last year. That was last year when he did it. But either way, he beat Caleb Plant this year. So you can still carry the fact that Caleb Plant had that on his resume because Benavidez beat Caleb Plant this year. You can't use the Kambosos win because Devin Haney didn't beat Kambosos this year. All right, let's see what else you guys are saying. I'm trying to catch up. Let's see. Bud, for me, I mean, listen, I get it. If that one win is polarizing enough for you, because it was a fight that we've been waiting for years, for 5 years, it is the modern era version of Floyd Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao. Although it wasn't as hyped as that, it is for boxing fans, it is this era, this modern era Mayweather Manny Pacquiao fight. And then it was crazy how he beat him. So I get it. If you want Crawford, if that's your opinion, I understand it. I like to do things in a way where to create as much fairness as I possibly can. So what I do is I say to myself, well, what's representative of the year? Oh, the full having multiple fights. That's more representative of being a fighter of this year. Who were the people they fought? How did they perform? To give as much credibility to being fighter of this year in my mind. That's how I do it. But I could see how you could say, I don't care about, fighting multiple times. Beating Errol Spence the way he did, a fight that we've been waiting for 5 years, making himself 2-time undisputed, that's fighter of the year material. He didn't have to fight nobody else. Just that one fight, and the way he did that one fight is enough. Listen, I hear you. And I respect it. I agree, Benavidez or Inoue, solid picks. Okay. I'll take David, all right? Absolutely nuts, lad. No way. I say either of David's fighters neither of David's fighters were 50-50. But they were more 50-50 than Regis Prograis and Devin Haney. What were the odds for Devin Haney versus Lomachenko? What were those odds? I think that one was a pretty good 50-50. What were those odds? Especially the way he did it sold me. But here's the thing. Even if the Lomachenko and Devin Haney one was closer to a 50-50, the performance is something that you have to take into account as well. It's not just how close it was. To me, though, a Regis Prograis versus Devin Haney is further from Boo Boo Andre Benavidez, Caleb Plant Benavidez. But I could be wrong. I think that's what I was seeing. But let me know. The Darrell fight was last year, not this year. Yes, last year. Haney even went to Australia on hostile territory. Once again, Casanova pugilist. You're looking at the past, my mans. We're talking about this year. We're not saying who's the better fighter. We're saying who's the fighter of this year. Is Devin Haney above Benavidez overall in terms of the things he's done? Yes. Yes. Overall, Devin Haney is better than Benavidez in terms of his accomplishments. Is Benavidez the fighter of this year, just January 1st to December 31st of 2023? I believe he is. Then Lomachenko and now Regis Haney for me just behind Crawford. Benavidez just beat guys his division. Once again, man, listen, I can't break it down anymore, bro. I can't break it down anymore. It's not about Haney shouldn't have been. It's just that Haney did those things you're talking about. He didn't do it this year. If he would have done all that stuff this year, I wouldn't even be talking. This wouldn't even be a debate to me. It would be him. But he didn't do all that stuff this year. Damn, I was going to say because that was a great knockout if it happened this year, imagine. Nah, but even if it didn't happen this year, he beat the guy who did that. And David Benavidez beat that guy this year. I wholeheartedly disagree, but I understand why you chose who you chose. Okay, cool. That's all I'm saying. I mean, I'm not expecting, for people to say exactly what I'm saying, but that's why this is called, or that's why the thumbnail, or actually the post that I put on the community tab is let's debate this, because I know that this is gonna be based off of what we think. My man said Benavidez Fanatico. I'll take Devin or David. That's just how I feel about it. Devin or David. Okay. Inoue upcoming opponent is unified champ, I think. He is. He has the other two belts, the other two world titles. So Inoue will unify and become undisputed, which is great. It's amazing. But I still think that the level of competition in Topless is not going to be as high as a Boo Andre or a Caleb Plant. Although Stephen Fulton can fall into the category of those guys, or maybe even a little bit higher, the fact that David Benavidez fought two of those guys, and Inoue fought one of those guys this year, that's going to be a thing that's gonna, that to me is gonna give Benavidez a leg up in the opponent selection category. All you got to ask is who will be remembered to summarize this whole year 10 years from now. You have your answer, and that's Bud. 100%, yes, Bud will be remembered for his performance this year. Oh, Love C Shorty just put a $2 super chat. Hold on one second. David made easy work of two elite fighters. He did. And of course, we got to give you the love for that real quick. Oh, how do I not have... Thank you for that. Let me go back to this. Thank you once again, Love C, for the $2 super chat. Yes, I get that. I understand that. I'm still trying to keep it as unbiased as possible, as rigorous as possible, and as fair as possible. If I'm personally going to give somebody an award for being the fighter of this year, I'm going to make sure that it encapsulizes just this year. Because to me, that's as fair as you can make it, right? Fighter of this year is the person that did the best stuff this year. Now, can you argue, Crawford is going to be the one remembered this year for what he did? Of course. As a matter of fact, I don't think anybody became more famous than Crawford did off of his win. I think Crawford's turnaround in terms of fame, he doubled his Instagram followers. Like, it was crazy. From just beating Errol Spence, I think he really brought it home with his win, right? And it was a fight that we've been waiting for a long, long, long time. We've been waiting for that fight for a long time. So it was finally all came together. The fight happened, and then he did the performance that he did. So I get it. He probably would be the most remembered when like 10 years from now. Sure. But to me, that still seems unfair. Because just because he had that one performance that people will remember him for and everything like that, he didn't have more fights than Benavidez this year. And Benavidez also fought 2 good fighters. So it's like, if you're going to be representative to me of this year, again, it's just to me, I feel like activity is also part of the category. That's how I feel about it. If Canelo beats Benavidez, I think it'll be a better W than Bud beating Errol. It depends how he beats if Canelo I thought I was reading in reverse. I thought you were saying if Benavidez beats Canelo, I think it's a better W than Bud beating Errol. It will not be a better W than Bud beating Errol. No. If anything, in my opinion, it'll be very similar, close, maybe a little bit less than because Errol Spence was a unified. He had all 3 belts. Canelo has all the belts. Now, if Benavidez beats Canelo, that would be better than Bud beating Errol. If he beats him in the way Bud beat Errol. Because we also got to look at the performance as well. If he just beats him and just squeezes out a win, which I think is nearly impossible. If it's a close fight, it's probably going to lean towards Canelo. But let's say in a weird world that happens, then it won't be better. But if he does beat him to a pulp, then that would be better than Bud beating Errol. Yes, for sure. In my opinion. I still think Canelo beating Benavidez right now, especially how Benavidez is definitely in his prime, is not nearing his prime. It's a greater victory. I don't know, man. I don't know. Wait, I thought Sean Porter retired. Yeah, he did retire. But wasn't it like last year that whenever he beat him, all I'm saying is if Crawford would have fought Sean Porter this year and Errol Spence and did what he did to Sean Porter and then did what he did to Errol Spence, that this year would have been his year without question. But he didn't do that. He fought Sean Porter, I think, last year. These years when these fighters are fighting, these people are like merging for me. I don't know. It's hard for me to tell. I want to say last year, but I could be wrong. Bro, protect your official prediction streak. You know Canelo gonna beat David. Listen, man. First of all, I might not make it. My streak might not make it all the way to Canelo Benavidez whenever they fight. I have to literally predict that a 13 predictions in a row is already a monumental feat. I have to continue to do this until that fight. I don't know if it would make it all the way over there, to be quite honest. Hopefully it does. But I don't like, there's so many fights in between. If I'm right for all the fights going into that fight, that would just be like I don't know, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm at that point would have to definitely start getting investigated for being too on the nose with my predictions. So yeah, I'm not too worried about that. But either way, it won't be an official prediction until the Friday before the fight, anyways. That's when I do the official prediction. This is just I always have a person I lean towards, and there's times where I've leaned towards a fighter. And I do my official prediction after analyzing, after viewing, like freshly looking at tape and looking at all this stuff. Then I switch to a different fighter. I've done that a bunch of times too. So official prediction is the thing that matters more than anything. So don't hang your hat on my tentative predictions. Make sure that if you want to get the most accurate prediction possible, that you show up on Friday, the night before a fight, if you want to get that fight's prediction as accurately done as possible from Boxing Fanatico. Last year, October. Okay, so cool. I was correct. It was last year. Let's skip over a little bit. It's a good combo. It's a fun combo. Yeah, 100%. What you talking about this conversation? I love this conversation. It's always fun. It's always fun. I feel like fighter of the year has got to be either Crawford or Tank Davis for me, to be honest. Tank Davis? How the heck is it Tank Davis? First of all, we got to talk about Tank Davis. That just triggered me a little bit. How in the world? Wait, what was your thing? Hold on. Wait. I just read what you said, King Juice. What are you saying here? Bud Wynn had his name blowing up and had people putting him against Canelo just as much as Benavidez, and Bud ain't touched 168. Bud's win did more and had bigger impact on the sport than Davis' last 2 years of fights. I agree. I agree with that statement, King Juice. But I'm being rigorous with how I'm selecting a fighter of this year. I feel like activity is also representative of owning the year. If you only fought one super impactful fight, I don't know that that's better than fighting 4 really good fights and being called the fighter of the whole year because of the one fight. I do agree that the one fight that he had was the most impactful fight in the last 5 years. I 100% agree with that statement. I'm simply saying, for me, that I always like to do things with like a check mark, with a check box, with check boxes, so that it helps me remove as much like bias that could seep into my brain when I'm making a selection. And it's like, okay, well, what makes a fighter of this year? Okay, activity. That's important, right? If they're fighting a lot, that's important because that means that they're representing this year well because they've had multiple fights. Who have they fought? How did they perform? I think that's the stuff that I use to make it as rigorous as possible. Now, I still agree that Terrence Crawford's win is better than both of those wins, but I feel that having 2 good wins shows that he had activity, and the fights that he had were good fights, and he won them with a good performance. So to me, that makes Benavidez. But again, it's opinionated, so I respect what you're saying, and I also agree basically with the statement that you're saying. I just don't agree on my end that would make him the fighter of this year. Hopefully we could agree to disagree on that. Wait, what? Now I don't know where I was before because I went back to answer this. Damn. I don't know. Well, I wouldn't say he made easy work of Plant, to be honest. That was a tough. Yeah, it was tough, but he still performed well. It was tough, but he still performed well because he adjusted to Caleb Plant and then he completely took over the fight. He adjusted and completely took over the fight. With Devin Haney versus Lomachenko, there was never a moment of separation where, okay, now the pendulum has swung tremendously on one side and this person is taking over. That never happened. It was consistently close. Every round was consistently close. I disagree that I ever looked at the past when you mentioned it earlier. My point was Crawford's win made him a 2-time undisputed, 3-time lineal champion. And he did it versus top 5 pound-for-pound fighter, but carry on. No, hey, listen. Again, I agree with that statement. I'm just, to me, the more boxes you check, the easier it will be for me to give you the title of fighter of this year. That's it. It'll be easier for me to give you the title fighter of this year because when you do it with check boxes, well, for me, I know that when I do it with check boxes, it definitely helps me remove bias from my mind because I'm looking at these things in a almost like in a scientific way or like a rigorous way where it's like I'm just what did they do this? Did they do that? Did they do this? Did they do that? That's what and that way it's like, oh well, he didn't do this. So that's the thing that I have to think about now when it comes to Terrence Crawford. He didn't fight more than once, right? So all the energy and all the hype that I have behind what he did with Errol Spence, is it fair for me to be like, oh, this is so amazing that I'm just going to give it to him anyways because of what he did in that one fight? Or should I be respectful to the fact that there's multiple fights that this other fighter did, and that's more represented, activity is more representative of the person being the person who carried the year. That's just how I feel. Even when I did my Floyd Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao, who's better? I did it in a checklist kind of way. Because if I just said, oh, I think Floyd's better, or oh, I think Manny's better, it's like, to me, it would feel empty, and I feel that bias could easily take over. When I make it rigorous, I think, like, when I put, like, checklists, I think it's easier for me to step away and just look, did they do that, and look at it in a very formulaic way. But I get it. The sentiment, the feeling is like, oh, Crawford did this amazing one thing that trumps everything everybody did. I personally just feel that having more activity plus two really good fighters and a good performance against both of them, I think that that's better for me. That's better for me to make him fighter of this year. Now, is Crawford the better fighter, period, pound for pound, number one, and has done an amazing stuff, like something amazing this year? Yes. Does that make him fighter of the year? To me, no. To me, no. But I don't necessarily think you're wrong. I just think that I'm just showing you what my opinion is. I think I'm 10 years. In 10 years, people are going to remember the Tank fight this year. Oh, that's what I was talking about. Tank. That's what I was talking about. Why is Tank in the conversation? Why do I see Tank in people's pound for pound list? Why am I seeing Tank in people's pound for pound list? Can somebody help me understand? Ryan Garcia was in nobody's pound for pound list. Ever, never. But Tank is in the pound for pound list for what? Fighting Ryan Garcia? Let me remind you that Ryan Garcia has never won a single world title. Let me remind you that before he fought Ryan Garcia, he fought Hector Garcia. Before he fought Hector Garcia, he fought Rolly Romero. Are we really putting people on the pound for pound list because they generate pay-per-views? Are we really putting people on the pound for pound list because they generate pay-per-views? I'm seeing a bunch of pound for pound lists on Twitter, and it's just like triggering me. I'm like, yo, I got to make my pound for pound list. Why is Tank in here? Tank has never been on my pound for pound list. Never. He doesn't fight people. He does not fight. Is he popular? Yes. Does he get knockouts? Yes. Does he fight for world titles? No. Pound for pound is not a popularity contest. Pound for pound is who's better. I also don't respect people that put Bivol under Canelo because he literally beat him. When I see Canelo above Bivol, all I'm seeing is, oh, this is a popularity contest. When I see Tank on the list, all I'm thinking of is, oh, this is a popularity contest. You're just putting people in there that people know. You're not actually doing a mythical list of who's better than everyone below them. You're not doing that. You're just like, I got to put Canelo above Bivol, even though Bivol beat him. It's like, you don't even have to, it doesn't even have to be mythical. We don't have to imagine. It literally happened. Yeah, stop putting Tank in your pound for pound list, guys. If Tank fights Devin Haney and beats Devin Haney, then we start putting him in the pound for pound list. Stop putting Tank in your pound for pound list. I know the pound for pound is an opinion-based list, but geez, man, like there's gotta be a cutoff point. There's gotta be a cutoff point. That's my little rant for that, by the way. My man said Terrence 2023 Crawford. Listen, again, I agree with your talking points. To me, my checklist, he ain't hit all the checks on the checklist, so it doesn't make him fighter of the year for me. All right. AP, whatever. Why you retracted like a million? You retracted like a bunch of things. I was talking to my homies about Tank not being pound for pound. They said I was biased. I don't understand. What are you? It's because he's known. Like, the dude had the regular WBA. They were actually they were trying to give him the official one because Haney vacated his belts. He didn't want it. He said, I don't want it because I don't want to fight for world title status. I don't want to fight based off of the ranking system. I just want to fight whoever is going to make me the most money. That's cool. That's perfect. You could do that. That's not going to put you on a pound for pound list. You can make the most money in boxing, and that's a cool accolade to have. That's fine. Don't put him on the pound for pound list, though. He don't deserve to be on the pound for pound list if he's not actually beating the toughest competition out there. Rolly Romero, guys. Ryan Garcia. Ryan was on no one's pound for pound list. On no one's pound for pound list. Tank beats Ryan, all of a sudden he's on the pound for pound list. Just help make it make sense for me. I don't get it. I don't get it. And I also don't get anybody who doesn't have either Crawford or Inoue as number one. You got to be on something if you don't got one of those two as number one. Is Shakur on your pound for pound list? I don't think he is. I got to check my list. I made the video. I'm not sure if he is. He might be. But really low on the pound for pound list. But he deserves to be on the pound for pound list more than Tank. He's a 3-division world champion. 3-division world champion. He's one of the fastest to become a world champion in boxing. He's only second to Lomachenko, who did it in 3 fights. However, Shakur did it without a loss, period. No losses. So if anybody was going to be on the pound for pound, Shakur would have a better argument to be on the pound for pound. He fights within the ranking system. He doesn't just fight whoever he wants to create pay-per-view numbers. He fights within the ranking system, and he fights the best guys. Bro, he had a little baby and Chief Keef walked him out to his fight. That's fight of the year stuff right there. Okay. That's all you need. All right. I got you. Oh, nah, you're right. Little baby and Chief Keef. That's fight of the year. Tank definitely has the most casual fan base, which isn't bad until they start making insane takes. Yup, like pound for pound. Like pound for pound. Nah, Tank beats Ngannou, though. Let's stop the BS. You guys are ridiculous. Anyways, we went a little bit over, 8 minutes over, because it's a fun conversation. I told you, King Juice, we were going to have fun in this conversation. This was engaging. Everybody gave their takes. I said mine. People think I'm wrong. You said yours. I think you're wrong. No, let me stop. But we all had our own opinions, right? We all had our own opinions and created a fun conversation. On Friday, we're going to talk about the official prediction of Sonny Edwards versus Bam Bam Rodriguez. I think that's something that we definitely need to talk about because the fight is Saturday. And it is actually a big fight. Although it's not been promoted crazy, it's actually a big fight. So I can't wait for that fight to take place. Let's see who would win. And of course, as always, every Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, we are live for the Boxing Fanatico live show from 7 p.m. Eastern Time to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Hit that like button because these videos get watched on demand. People watch this after the fact, so we're growing the channel. Please hit the like button if you haven't. Hit the subscribe button as well. Hit all notifications so as soon as we go live or if we drop a video, which we shadow drop videos all the time, depending on news, boxing news. You'll get those videos as soon as we drop them. Of course, as always, I will see you in the next one. Have fun. We had a fun talk today, guys. Real fun. Peace out.